Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Danny here, and today I'm bringing you guys a little bit of a gameplay commentary, and we're just going to be going over basically what I've been using to ladder push, and pretty much what I've been playing ever since I've hit the original Legendary Arena, which was Hog Mountain, which is, well, that's what it's known as now. And we're just going to be hopping some ladder matches. I'm doing a little bit of commentary over my thoughts and the reasoning as to why I did certain things. Yeah. Um, So I guess we don't really know what deck we're playing against here. So I just decided to play a Naked Hog Rider, as you know, that usually doesn't end up being punished too hard, because the thing is, you're expending 4 elixir, and when you're already at 10 elixir, you have 6 elixir to defend, and not to mention they have to answer with something. In that case, they answered with a P.E.K.K.A. and an Ice Wizard, which was a 10 elixir commitment, but it ended up being a solid counter push. My log came out a little bit late for the Goblin Barrel, but everything seemed alright. He did have a miner, so I had to try to protect it and eliminate the miner as soon as possible, because if the miner was still alive, then the Ice Wizard would have been able to slow the tower as the miner got away more hits. And so luckily we were able to eliminate the miner and give him very minimal damage. Right now he still has a damage lead on us, but knowing that he's not back to his P.E.K.K.A. yet, I'm able to throw in a Naked Hog Rider once again, and then basically get some guaranteed damage. Now, I didn't know what his next counter was, and it just saw him to be Wizard and Ice Wizard. So seeing that the two wizards together, that's very solid fireball value. And then now that they throw a bandit in front of it, it gives me another reason to log it all away, right? Now, knowing this, I now know that he has P.E.K.K.A. in hand again. And so, you know, to counter the bandit, had to throw a little bit of an Ice Golem. I totally forgot about the Goblin Barrel. Although, personally, for me, in that moment, log was probably the smarter move, simply because I didn't have to deal with the 2 wizards, and taking a little bit more of chip damage allowed me to prevent further elixir loss, I guess you could say. Yeah, and from here, I could have tossed my cannon over there, but the reason why I didn't toss the cannon was because I felt like I didn't see all of his cards just yet. I felt that, I was like, I feel like I haven't seen his spell yet, which later on I believe ends up being Fireball or something like that. I don't quite remember the spell. And I wasn't sure if he had a battle ram or something, because a lot of people likes to run P.E.K.K.A. with battle ram, especially with bandit. It's a very solid rich spam deck, and so I needed to save my cannon. So right over here, luckily I managed to get my musketeer down in the center, and then basically prevent the bandit and ice wizard combo to come back. Right here, a little bit of a misplay from my ice golem. Unfortunately, walks behind the musketeer, and luckily, for me, I managed to save my log to be able to get rid of both his miner and his goblin barrel for a positive elixir trade. The ice spear definitely wasn't necessary there. However, I was thinking maybe if he reacted in time with his P.E.K.K.A., he might have been able to prevent me from getting hits. But in hindsight, I think I definitely could have just left that alone. Now, personally, I think this log was a little bit over-aggressive, but I think I was more or less using it to cycle cards. And luckily, with this deck, since it's so low on elixir cost, you could cycle around to the second log super quickly. Personally, though, I think the log over there was unnecessary, as the Ice Golem pretty much had kited the last goblin, and the other 2 goblins were already wiped by my musketeer, and that was the game. So P.E.K.K.A. generally is it's a pretty solid counter to Hog Rider, but all you have to do with this deck is to out-cycle it, and you'll be a-okay. Now, personally, I don't know why the game volume disappears here. That I don't know. I didn't hit anything differently, but it does. So just straight commentary from here. But yeah, so in this hand, I believe we do end up playing Golem here. And so obviously, I'm about to hit 10 elixir, decide to throw down some cards. Sometimes it's not too bad to leak elixir, and by that I mean just stay there at 10 elixir for no apparent reason. And luckily, this deck cycles very quickly, and therefore, I'm able to cycle around to my Hog Rider and then hold out a Fireball. And I was basically waiting to see what he'll drop, and I decided, okay, I guess I could drop this, wiping out 2 of his goblins from his goblin gang, then allowing me to use my 1 elixir skeletons to get rid of the spear goblin behind, and then taking care of the 2 goblins as well. Now, on the other side, I believe that it was just an ice golem that was going down the lane, and he just so happened to throw a wizard, thinking that I might have supported it. Problem was, I think I definitely should have just used an ice golem instead, and then save the log and ice spear for later. But actually, as I say that, the ice golem was huge here. The ice golem actually allowed me to get away with not being tornadoed away, and so luckily for us, we were able to make that push deal massive damage. Now, here was a little bit of a misplay from me. Personally, I think I could have played that way better in the fact that I shouldn't have dropped the skeletons. What I should have done was drop the ice spirit, freezing up the golem, and then from there dropping the ice golem first to kite the night witch backwards, in which case then I would have the skellies to do extra DPS to the golem. And unfortunately I had to fireball there because I felt like the bats were going to do way too much damage for me to recover from, and so therefore I decided to just fireball it. Now personally, I felt like I was a little bit low on elixir, so right here I just waited it out rather than throwing a naked hog again. Obviously, once again, he throws the fat golem onto the lane, and this is how I know that he's up on elixir on me, right? He has a golem on the field, assuming that, he hit 10 elixir already, then that means he was ready to go, so he was at least up by 3 elixir on me. So those are just things that you have to worry about. Luckily over here, I had a feeling that he was going to support it, and therefore, like I said, he was up on me on the elixir, so I couldn't really punish. Otherwise, I wouldn't have enough elixir to defend, and so therefore I played defense. Now right here, what you're going to see me do is, I realized that he had Rocket too, so by the time he spent Rocket and the Night Witch, I realized that he probably didn't have a lot of answers left, which means the Goblin game was coming out, and unfortunately, the log came out a little bit too slow for me. I should have probably pre-logged that, but like I said, Hog still ended up getting a hit, so that was really solid for us. We ended up cycling a lot of Musketeers to defend off the left side lane with the Golem, and we were able to basically get a defense going. Now, luckily for us, that Tornado didn't actually end up killing it off. Now, and this also goes into the early game as well, where he wasn't able to activate his King's Tower, because if he had activated his King's Tower, I'm pretty sure my Hog Rider wouldn't have been able to get the second hit. Now, personally, I don't think we would have needed the second hit. I think the Fireball Log combo would have been able to clean it up, but it was just nice, the fact that he didn't have the King's Tower, because if he had activated that, then my previous hog pushes wouldn't have been as effective. Now, hopping into the third match, I don't remember what the matchup was here, and basically, for people that are just down in this arena, the idea is to always using your Musketeer, your Cannon, and using your Ice Golem, Ice Spirit to hold off the support troops while the Cannon and Musketeer burst down the tank, and that's the idea. But later on, as you climb up the higher arenas, you're going to realize that, wait a minute, this strategy doesn't really work, because people learn to fireball your cannon, people learn to get around your defenses and stuff like that. And hopefully in the future I'll have more in-depth videos as to how to play this against those type of decks. But as of right now, in this current arena, I think this is really what you need to be successful, as many people don't really know how to get past this trifecta defense. So right here, he plays with the Royal Giant deck. At first, I thought it was going to be a graveyard deck, simply because Barbarian Barrel, Ice Wizard, and Baby Dragon Tombstone seems like it would be a recipe for the graveyard. And to be honest, graveyard is one of the hardest matchups that 2.6 could possibly play against, in which case then you just need to play hard defense and really capitalize on moments that you can counter push with the Hog Rider and really get as much chip damage as possible. But luckily for us, it was Royal Giant, and Royal Giant honestly is a little bit of an easier counter for us. And so, he was just building up his pushes as if it was a giant push, putting a lot of units behind him, which, he had the right idea. But unfortunately for him, we were able to burst down his Royal Giant before it was able to really get anything going on our towers. And once again, he clumps all of his troops, therefore giving me a ton of fireball value. Now, personally for me, I thought about, maybe throwing the hog, but I didn't have enough elixir right there, and so what I had to do was basically leave this Barbarian, and what you saw me there was see me kite the Barbarian backwards. Instead of using a log on it and making it killable, then I would use the hog and kite it backwards, in which case it wouldn't be able to reach my tower. My hog's able to get 2 hits, lucky for me there, and when they have Tombstone to counter your hog, one thing you can do is that when your hog, you can time your hog hit to the point whereas you can log the Tombstone, and it would kill the skeleton spawning in, and basically allowing your hog to bypass the Tombstone completely. Now right there, what you saw me do was once again cycle Musketeers and really get a ton of damage out before the Royal Giant was able to get a hit. Once again, I used the same technique for the Tombstone, pretty much leaving him defenseless. And at this point, once we collect the tower, we're pretty much in control of this match. He doesn't really have anything going, and then his support troops are just kind of walking through without much left. And at this point, I'm just cycling my defensive cards. With 2.6, you just cycle everything so quickly, dropping the skeletons down in front of the Royal Giant. And since the Royal Giant is so big, the skeletons actually split up quite a bit to a point where the Ice Wizard can't splash all of them. and then the Inferno Dragon would have to focus on the skeletons one by one. And after they kill off the skeletons, I still do have the Ice Spirit to answer. And, even then I still have the Ice Golem, all the while, my tower, cannon, musketeer is all just DPSing down the Royal Giant. And so in this last match, this is a game where, obviously the opponent's a little bit higher level than me, but, we're able to make quite a amazing comeback. Now over here, what you see me do is once again cycle skeletons in the back. It's generally pretty safe play. I see them throw down the golem, and so I decided to punish at the other lane. If you're a golem player, definitely don't ever throw the golem down in the other lane. Now, personally right here, I was thinking to myself, should I have supported the push? Should I have, thrown a fireball or something to kill the Dark Goblin? And maybe I should have, but personally, this was a huge misplay. I misplayed the cannon, and, I was hopefully that logging the golem would put me in an advantageous spot, in which case it would be aggroed to the cannon. However, that didn't work out, and he was basically able to get a free princess, and then have a miner basically attack my tower as well. And at this point, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, we're super down on elixir. We can't really do anything at this point, because if we spend any more elixir, say if you look at the cards in my hands, the cannon is something I need to have ready to go for his next golem. And, at this point, and a musketeer and fireball are not really all viable options to take out a naked princess. And so I just decided to wait till, basically I had 10 elixir and was ready to go with another card. Now, what you saw me there was I saw the Sparky, and what I realized quickly enough was that, well, I guess I should try to support the other lane. He makes a mistake here by getting too aggressive with the princess, and I was able to basically kill off the miner, and then luckily that one skeleton was actually the one to draw the aggro. We were able to drop the Hog Rider and pretty much just go in on the counter push, right, after defending off his push. And I don't think he had elixir here, because he had spent a lot on, he spent basically another 6 trying to support the Sparky. And at this point, I come to realize that, wait a minute, we can still win this. So that's within fireball range. Unfortunately for me, I didn't drop the skeletons in time to prevent the damage from the Dark Goblin. Once again, I see the golem being tossed down in the back, which means he's looking, he's not looking to 3 crown, he's looking to get the second tower. So at this point, I'm thinking, all right, let's cycle defenses and try to defend this guy, right? And so obviously I cycle all my inexpensive cards, throws a fireball in to claim the tower, in case if for whatever your time doesn't allow me to. Once again, cycle to my musketeer and cannons, and then basically start building a giant defense, using log to log back the cannons. Unfortunately, we do not get the skeletons down in time. However, they're able to kill the Sparky regardless. And then right here, we throw down the cannon. In hindsight, I think the cannon could have been placed a little bit higher near the princess, and so that way the cannon was able to kill the princess. However, it was okay, as I was able to throw down a musketeer, and then we were able to throw an ice golem down the middle to attract the aggro of the 2 towers. And it was really lucky here that I threw the Ice Golem, or the Ice Spirit, and it actually was able to take out the Sparky. Musketeer was also able to take out the Sparky, giving us basically 2 extra hits from the Musketeer. Once again, we're on the defense again as the Golem's coming down the opposite lane. He basically committed the Dark Goblin as well as the Sparky to defense, and therefore he couldn't really support his Golem, so I was able to log everything away. And speaking of graveyard, it actually came out to play here, but it seemed as if he was never having enough elixir to make a solid graveyard push. And that's the idea of Hog 2.6 whenever you're playing against Golem, as the idea is that you definitely don't want to be, giving the Golem any sort of resources to build up a giant push, and therefore, for you, it's just to cycle Musketeer and Cannons, and then counter pushing with the Hog, or punishing with the Hog, to make sure that the Golem is never able to have enough troops behind it to support it. So that's the idea when playing against a lot of beatdown. Hopefully next time I'll have other Hog Rider videos, mirror matchups perhaps, to show you guys. But this is my main account that you're seeing right here, and we've hit our season high. But on that note, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.